Hey guys, are you ready to transform your mind so you can transform your life? Coach Myrna brings you one-on-one coaching and expert guests weekly to help you to grow. Because happiness is the progressive realization of a worthy goal.
Looking for personal growth? Let's do it. Isn't that the sweetest sound? That's the sound of another sale or another dollar hitting your Shopify e-commerce store. Nobody does selling better than Shopify. It's the home of the #1 checkout on the planet. Sign up for $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/transform, all lowercase. Welcome back to the Transform Your Mind to Transform Your Life radio podcast and television show. I'm your host, Life Coach Myrna Young, and sitting in the guest chair today is Victoria Pippo, multi-dimensional healer. And Victoria and I are going to be talking on the topic today, the hidden dangers of spiritual awakening. Wow. Now, I've always heard that we want to be enlightened. We want to aim for spiritual awakening. We want to understand energy and all that. So I am looking forward to learning along with you about spiritual awakening and healing. So welcome, Victoria.
Thank you so much for having me. I think we're going to have a really rich conversation. And for your listeners who are tuning in today, I know that maybe some of these concepts might seem a little bit freaky, like you haven't heard them a lot. And I encourage you all to use your discernment. Take what resonates for you that feels right at this time, and the rest, pitch it. I'm one person who's had an experience that I have now gained certain wisdom about, and it might not be time for you to receive, but my highest hope is that you take something that really sticks with you today, that makes you more mature, more in control, more grounded, and more safe through your spiritual awakening journey. So thanks for having me.
Beautiful. Set the intention. I love it.
Well, you got it, especially when you thought it hidden dangers. People are like, oh God, oh no.
Yeah. I saw that in that. We're going to get to that in our conversation. So that's interesting. All right, guys. So with that little intro from Victoria, let me introduce you to her formally. Victoria Pippo is, like I said, a multi-dimensional healer, faith-based leader, innovative businesswoman, philanthropist, and a spiritual guide specializing in psychic development, energy healing, and interference protection. With a unique blend of spiritual insights and professional expertise, Victoria helps high-level entrepreneurs, celebrities, and healers globally protect their energy and thrive in their work and life. She brings a unique combination of practical spiritual tools and professional experience to guide individuals in protecting themselves while expanding their psychic abilities. Yes. So that's probably what this conversation is going to turn into, that it's not something that you want to go in willy-nilly, right? So let's start off, Victoria. I love, one of my guests came on and said this word, and I've adopted it because I love it. So let's set the table for this conversation by starting with the story of your spiritual awakening. How did it happen for you?
Yes, thank you so much. Let's set the table and eat some good grub, you guys. So my spiritual awakening happened in 2019. I had a really challenging experience where I recognized that a lot of my patterns in my life created a tower moment, as a lot of people who have their awakening will explain, when everything falls apart simultaneously, all at the same time. And you go, whoa, how did I create this? How did this happen? For me, it was connected to a lot of relational patterns. My parents had been divorced 3 times each between the age of 0 and 7. So I actually had 6 parental figures in my life in the fundamental time of developing my brain, understanding attachment styles, love, receivership, who was safe, who was not. And as you can imagine, that really turned into how I received love as an adult. And so that really manifested in a lot of empath narcissistic dynamics where I was the empath and I was in a lot of challenging relational dynamics. And that led me to that tower moment. And when that tower moment happened, I was at the time a Disney princess living on a cruise ship, playing Mary Poppins, yeah, and Mrs. Potts. It was kind of funny. I was working on the Disney cruise ships as a professional performer, and I had about 2 decades in the profession of musical theater performance. And when that moment happened and I was living on the cruise ship, I felt, one, even more isolated than I already did on the ship. But I also felt like it was a gift because the isolation allowed me to sit with myself. And so this led me to meditation, questioning why. Why was I the common denominator in these relationships? Why was I perpetuating self-sabotage? Why was I always expecting that people would leave? Those were like the main stories that drove my life. And then sabotaging because I expected they would leave, and thus the cycle continue. And so I started to meditate regularly on a day-to-day basis. I would deepen my practices every time I had availability on the ship. And the longer I meditated, things started to happen. I started to feel like a breath of air on the left side of my body. And being the skeptic that I hope we all are, I started to now meditate in different places because I thought, well, what is that? That's so beautiful. I'm in a coming from, yeah, like I'm on a cruise ship, girl. Like, what? No. So I'm now going to all these different locations and I'm trying to figure out where this breath is coming from. And it would follow me. One day, continuing to follow my curiosity, being deep in different guided meditations and different visualization meditations, never really going too far, kind of like imagining myself in a garden or imagining myself in, a forest, just peaceful places. This breath came again, and then a voice came through and said, I am your grandfather. I am your spirit guide, and I've been with you your whole life.
Aww.
So I ran upstairs. Absolutely. I ran upstairs and called my mother, that was her father. And so I said to my mom, did I ever tell you as a child? Because now I'm thinking back in time to when I had been a child who probably was already awakened and open. And then through life and evolution, I turned those gifts off. And I said, did I ever tell you that I talked to Grandpa growing up? And she said, yeah, you would always say, Grandpa's here, Grandpa's here. And I said, did I ever say like where he was? She said, oh, you would always point to whoever was standing on the left side of their body and say, Grandpa's here, Grandpa's here. So that connected the dot for me of the air on the left side.
Right.
And then the presence of the connection with him. And then having validity that I, as a child, had access to connecting with him. And from that moment on, it was like the tumbleweed, I was like, I need to know more about this. It didn't make me afraid. It felt like, why don't we know about this? Why don't we have access to this? This healed something for me as a sensitive, empathetic child growing up in a world where I felt like I didn't belong. I immersed myself in art to escape in fantasy and imagination. This felt like an aha, not like it was something I wanted to pursue. And so, a little over 5 years later, and now I work as an energy healer and I work with many beings, and I feel very blessed that I had that initial moment.
Wow. Wow. A lot of circle backs there. That's beautiful. So explain the tower. Is that where you fall into like a deep pit of depression? Is that where you're feeling that you are, bipolar and you're like a godlike? Or what exactly is the tower? Explain that to someone that's listening.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great question. The tower actually feels like a tower falling. So imagine you have this firm structure of your life and you think, you've got cement that holds the bricks. You've got this reality that you've created. It feels firm, solid. You've got all these layers. I'm going to do this career and live in this way. I've got this firm structure. And then something comes in and knocks it down like a Jenga, right? Your expectation of life meets God's will. And then the tower falls. So what that might feel like for people might turn into a pit of depression. It might turn into existential crisis. It might turn into questioning why have I accepted this life when I'm unhappy or I'm empty or doesn't feel right? So for your listeners who are like, oh, I resonate with that, think about the actual structure of your life that you've built in relationship, in love, in money, in career, in health. And then something happens that knocks down that construct and you go, oh boy, I didn't know I was living in a house of cards.
I know. Yeah. We say in our culture, you felt like the ground fell, like when you have an earthquake and the ground opens up and you fall in. So I get it. So you're using tower, I'm using the ground. Different analogy of the same thing. Right. So, but is that usually a crossroad when you say, okay, I can't go on this way. I have to go left or I go right? Is that what the end result is? Feeling that like this moment.
Yes, absolutely. That's exactly what it feels like. It feels like I'm at this split between realities and I can't do what I've done before because that reality's dead. That tower's fallen. So I need to now
Okay.
build anew. Something else has to be built from here because I'm not going to build the same thing again because that's probably going to fall. I have to
Okay.
build something new.
Right. So it's like a fork in the road kind of thing. So, all right. So you had this moment, you decided that you have to go into a different direction because what's been working before was not working. And you started meditating and your grandpa came through. So, because you're saying that you had this ability as a child, you think you turned it off, um, and until you started to open up and meditate, that's when you let him in. Is that?
I think it's a both and, meaning I think that I became unaware of it and then I channeled it into art. So I always played in imagination, right? I always played
Right.
different characters, different roles. I was told from a lot of different teachers, like, she's different. I don't know what it is. There's something about her. And at that time, I was like, oh, it's just because I'm good at what I do. I'm very blessed to have this God-given talent. And then down the line, I was like, they probably picked up on the fact that I was becoming these characters. I was immersing myself in these characters in a way that was just different than other people. It was like I could just take it a step deeper than others. And now in hindsight,
Beautiful though.
absolutely, I mean, it made an amazing career. I loved performing. And so I kind of think that they never really turned off. It's just my parents didn't know what to do with the gift. And then they put it into art because that's a lot of times what ends up happening with really empathetic, sensitive people is they put it into something else, such as a lot of times art and creativity, because it's an outlet for somebody who's overstimulated, super sensitive, and really connected.
Okay, great, great. That's beautiful. So, still going back to Grandpa.
Yep.
I mentioned before we started the recording that I've had interviews with a lot of empaths, mediums, shamanic, and they all start like that, where not necessarily a grandpa, but I specifically remember this interview that I had before we started, when I was sitting here waiting on you, where one of the, I don't remember which, well, I think she was a medium, right? She was that she would wake up and there was all these people at the head of her bed. So after your grandpa cancer, did anybody else come through?
So what ended up happening was I really developed my relationship with my grandfather. And then when I got off the ship, I started to liken to different divination tools. So I actually found myself really connected to tarot and different oracle cards. And what actually drew me in more than deceased spirits was actually understanding the collective energy. So I felt like I could kind of plug into like different pieces of what the planet was going through, not so much about the spirits particularly, but more so like the bigger web of consciousness. I felt like I could start to kind of plug into like, oh, this is why in 2020 this energy is coming in. And oh, this is why this person is going through this cycle. So I could kind of see
That's
the
beautiful.
bigger web of consciousness in a way that could help someone understand patterns and see different pieces that were holding them back. And then on a collective scale, I could kind of like plug into that web of information.
That's great. Actually, that's more useful than talking to I see dead people, right?
Well, and that's me. Like, are we yeah, and that's the thing that I teach, you know. I think that I think being a medium is such a beautiful gift to be able to have. I have the access to be a psychic medium as well. But I think that our grief is for us. And when we try to contact the deceased to try to mitigate that experience of the grief for us or bring resolution, I think that that's kind of a part of the hidden dangers that I want to talk about, because
Right.
when your deceased grandparents, who are no longer guides, let's say, leave, then they've left back to the infinite source of creation. And if they want to come back, they will come to you. And that's a different energy than trying to invoke my grandfather to contact him because I miss him. That comes from emotion, curiosity, grief, desperation. Those are not high vibrations or vibrations that we want to try to connect with the dead on. We want them to come to us, right? We be a vibrational match for it, right? When we're taking care of our grief, we're processing. If we want to learn about the afterlife, gosh, learn from other mediums about the afterlife. Don't ask a medium to contact someone because you can't cope with your grief. You know, it's like just learning what the motivators are of trying to talk with the deceased is a really important topic of conversation.
Wow. Right. That's good. That's good. So that's amazing. A few months ago, I was shopping for airline tickets, and the pricing was so expensive that I started searching incognito to see if I can get a better price. With NordVPN, you can avoid price discrimination and see if the same product is cheaper in another region. You can access foreign e-stores, apps, and online auctions for a wider selection of items. NordVPN is premium cybersecurity. Shield your online activities from your ISP or hackers monitoring your connection. Encrypt your connection to make public Wi-Fi networks safer to use. You can use NordVPN's Threat Protection Pro to scan files you download, block ads, and avoid malicious links. Also, get alerts from the Dark Web Monitor and see if your credentials are discovered in hackers' hands. Get your exclusive NordVPN deal here. Go to nordvpn.com/transform. It's risks-free with Nord's 30-day money-back guarantee. Our link would also give you 4 extra months of the 2-year plan. That website again is nordvpn.com/transform. Also, you can click the link in the episode description. Isn't that the sweetest sound? That is the sound of another sale or another dollar hitting your Shopify e-commerce store or money hitting your bank account. As an entrepreneur, that sound says to me, Shopify is sending me customers while I sleep. I started my Shopify e-commerce store selling t-shirts with beautiful motivational quotes about mindset. I was able to get my store up and running easily from thousands of customizable templates. All I needed to do was to drag and drop. Nobody does selling better than Shopify. It's the home of the #1 checkout on the planet. And the not-so-secret secret, Shop Pay that boosts conversions up to 50%. Meaning less shopping carts going abandoned and way more sales going. Upgrade your business and get the same checkout as Allbirds or Skims uses. Sign up for $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/transform. All lowercase. Go to shopify.com/transform to upgrade your selling today. Shopify.com/transform. One of the questions I have here is, who experiences spiritual awakening? What is the criteria for it? I know that a lot of times we're born with that gift because, you know, like I said, this lady was telling me that she would wake up and she will see a whole bunch of people by her bed, and there's probably a whole bunch of people by my bed, but I can't see them.
You're like, but I'm sleeping. I don't see nobody.
No, exactly. And so, who gets to experience this spiritual awakening?
I believe that we all have the ability to experience our spiritual awakening. I think that we all have natural gifts and abilities. And so for this particular woman, the way she experiences it is being able to see dead people by her bed. For you, it's being able to help people transform their mind and understand people, listen with deep presence, be able to serve people, to help them expand their consciousness, understand themselves. That's your unique ability. My unique ability is talking to aliens, removing demons, and getting people on their natural path of life. Like, I think the key here is that you understand that we were all made in an image that is unique. And the criteria for our awakening is that we just are simply on this planet. And when it's our right time, when we're kind of sick and tired of being sick and tired, if you will, then God's hand will come in and say, here's where the tower moment will be, or here's where, the earth breaks beneath your feet, whatever it is. Here's that moment so that you can start to ask the right questions. And so I think the criteria for an awakening is absolutely everybody. It's just that everybody's natural gifts are different. And so the way that they manifest after that kind of initial crumble, if you will, is unique to what someone's natural strengths are.
Well, that's great. Great. So let's say that, again, I'm tapping into my past conversations, again, mediums, because I haven't actually spoken to a multidimensional healer before. but as media, there are people that are, whatever. So whenever, I'm going to use your analogy now, whenever they have a tower moment that makes them realize that they've had a gift that they've probably noticed but ignored, all their life or whatever. So let's say that all of a sudden I'm aware of somebody at the head of my bed and I'm scared. And then tomorrow night there's more.
Yep.
Because I think that's what happened. They say, they bring their friends. Does that cause anxiety? And how do you get rid of that anxiety? Yeah.
I think that this is such an important question, and I really am thankful that you're asking it, because a lot of people feel fear about their awakening. We're having conversations about dead people standing by your bedside, and just a day ago, you were sleeping soundly. And this happens to a lot of people on their awakening journeys, especially when you're having conversations about seeing things or feeling things or noticing things or sensing things. It is scary. And so I like to say this, and this might be controversial to the spiritual community, but I like to push the edge of the dialogue here. I think that fear is a really important part of your awakening. Because when you're afraid, you navigate things with more integrity if you understand where to place the fear. For example, when I began to see a lot at a time of my journey where I had more maturity, then what ended up happening is that fear or that insecurity ended up propelling me to make sure that I was in the right vibration to do my spiritual work, that I was well rested so that I wasn't too tired when I went in, that I took the time for myself so that I was feeling good before I went into the work. The fear of the insecurity about seeing something spiritually for the first time or having to use it in some way, choosing to use it in some way, actually propelled me to make sure that I was in integrity. And so
Okay.
if you're feeling that fear about, oh my God, there are these beings by my bed and I'm feeling anxious about it, but I'm kind of compelled and curious to learn more, what if the fear was okay? Because the fear allows you to consider how to channel that fear into approaching the beings, the spirits, in a more integral way, a more protected way, a more discerning way, a more questionable way. It's actually a positive thing. And so if you're feeling fear or insecurity about your spiritual awakening, I think that's a really good thing, because then you go, okay, well, I don't want to get rid of that, but how can I use that to do better work?
Right. Yes. So that's amazing. So the flip side of all that is what we started off talking about, energy and being able to heal, right? So let's talk about that now. Um, how did you, being spiritually awakened, did you have to go to school in order to um uh, to tune yourself in to the ability to understand the vibrational energy and using it to heal other people? Like I mentioned to you that I had an interview 2 days ago where the gentleman was teaching people how to heal themselves by working with energy. He was telling me how you can, put your hands together and feel the energy and move it around. So, so tell us about how you work with energy.
Yes. So I went to school in a way that a lot of psychics end up going to school, but they just don't end up talking about it very openly. I had a very traumatizing experience with spirits. So I actually, at the end of 2022, had an increase of debilitating health, excessive nightmares where I felt like I was being attacked by something. Trigger warning, I was experiencing a lot of suicidal ideation at the time and felt very confused by that because I had a beautiful family. I had a healthy relationship. That was amazing. I had amazing golden retriever dogs, and everybody loves a golden retriever. Like, it didn't make sense, basically. What I was feeling, what I was experiencing, felt like I was being attacked. And chasing enlightenment seemed like I was getting more attacked. So, what was going on? So, I reached out to a healer at the time, and she looked into it. And I actually had multiple demonic forces actually attached to my energy.
Wow.
Multiple, not just like one, multiple. And that was the first time among that tower moment I had in 2019 that I was like, I didn't, no one told me about that on, the internet. No one warned me about psychic attack. No one warned me about having demonic attachment. That I thought that was just biblical. I didn't know that was reality, but I actually experienced it in real time.
So did your grandfather leave at this point because maybe he was protecting you before?
So my grandfather didn't actually leave until early 2023 was when I noticed him. And I didn't feel his presence anymore, but I couldn't contact him if I tried. It felt like I was in this black hole and I was like trying to kind of grab and enter this dark tunnel and feel like, hello, why do I want to kill myself here? Like, this doesn't make any sense. My eyes they turned really dark. If you see my eyes, they're bright now. Like, my spirit's bright. It felt the energy got sucked out of me. And I experienced demonic attachment for the first time in my life. And that was definitely the biggest school I think I could have ever went through. Because by the grace of God and a really strong healer at the time, I was able to remove them. And it felt like the veil had been lifted from my eyes. And then I began to really question everything. That taught me, whoa, listen, I'm just kind of like you were saying in the beginning, I was willy-nilly channeling, just woo, I'm awakened, love and light, I'm on this path, and woo, I can do all these cool things. I can heal people through the energy of my mind, like, the energy from my crown is somebody. I was really living in this kind of superficial spirituality where I'm not wanting to touch negative emotions because that's fear. And I'm not wanting to kind of go into the harder conversations because it's an illusion. It doesn't exist. And then when I actually had it happen to me, I felt, in full transparency, I felt very gaslit by the spiritual community because no one wants to talk about the elephant in the room, where a lot of people do experience different attack like this, feel ill-equipped, and then unsupported by a community where most of the dialogue is about staying in this upper echelon of consciousness where you're enlightened and at peace. But no one wants to talk about what happens in the dirt, where people wake up really fast and don't actually have tools or equipment to navigate it. So that was my school. I went from like elementary to university.
Right. I can see you traversing the universe. Hey, ooh, yeah, come on. You know what I mean? That's beautiful. Now, I noticed in your bio that you mentioned that you're faith based. Now, again, I have been told that when you open yourself up to spirits, some of the bad ones will come in, right? And the reason that if you were a Christian, for say, that they don't come in because you don't invite them in. So let's clarify that. This is just my curiosity. So how do you think you attracted those demons? Do you think you invited them in, or did they just come in because you're open?
You know, I think this conversation hits so many different nuances that I kind of want to talk about because this is important. A lot of times people think, okay, you attract everything in your reality, right? You are a creator of your reality, and everything that you bring in, you attract. I do hold that truth, impartial truth, but I also hold the truth that on a planet of free will and on a planet of very clear good and evil, or God and the devil, however you want to call it,
Right.
things can happen. For example, like if I'm outside hiking and a bear attacks me, I wouldn't call it that happened because it was meant to be. I would say I got attacked by a bear because nature is nature.
Right. Right. Right.
I would say, well, that's nature.
Somebody might say that you attracted the bear because you were afraid of the woods or something.
Yeah. Here's my question. What if I wasn't afraid of the woods? And then what ends up happening is like, well, you were supposed to be afraid of the woods. It was subconscious in your mind. It was there. It's like that's kind of where that, like, I find that gaslighting comes in. It's like, oh, it was just a part of your subconscious. Like, bleh. Like, instead of, well, do things just simply happen that ultimately have the opportunity to rewrite a path for us? Yes. Is that path all God, or is that path sometimes things just happen? In my experience, as someone who has a very intimate relationship with God, who's actually opened herself up to learning about God and Jesus and how they play into my life without identifying with religious ideologies, I believe that evil is more so attracted to visibility than the frequency of fear. So think about success.
I agree with
health celebrities who like talk about stuff, and next thing you know, the power is in the on the planet are saying they're crazy, or they get killed off and go, oh, sorry, Michael Jackson died. It's like, but did he, or was he somebody who was pushing against the edge of the dialogue? Was he somebody that recognized the evil on this planet and the visibility was actually the trigger?
My pastor says higher level, higher devil.
That's it. Your pastor's totally accurate. And every level has a new devil.
Devil, right? Yeah.
Right? So it's like, yeah, higher level, higher devil. And then also, like, every new level has a new devil. And so when people think, once I'm enlightened, then all of this underneath doesn't exist, it's like, no, no, no. You touch enlightenment, but you're living on earth, and you have human emotion. And human emotion, you're in a body. Guys, you're in a body, and your body has a reptilian mind that's always thinking it's dying and is trying to protect you, and a body that experiences trauma and emotion and pain.
Yes. Right.
That kind of disconnection of transcendence and enlightenment, usually I've seen for people who are really up there, they end up leaving their body for evil entities.
Right.
To kind of answer that, I think it's kind of both,
I was just about to ask you. Let's bring it back for a circle. I want to know your answer, to be quite honest. Yes. Mm.
Yeah.
So what you're saying is that evil entities can attach themselves to you even when you don't invite them in.
Totally. Totally. I've seen people who are highly visible in the world who hit peak milestones of their life for the right reasons. And the next thing you know, there's all this attack on their energy. Public figures who are deeply sincerely trying to benefit the world. And suddenly there's, hate campaigns and smears that are kind of hitting a pulsating nerve in their life that's like a little too close to personal. And then people just say, oh, it's the name of success. I'm like, is it? Or is it just psychic attack? Like, I think we need to understand that our light is absolutely the greatest threat. right? Our awareness, our vibration, our being in our mission, our truth, serving our heart, that is more of a threat. Fear, everybody's in fear. 95% of the planet is in fear. Most people are kind of living in that unconscious state. And that isn't to say that they don't connect that way, but it's also not to say that they don't and wouldn't gain more power from somebody who's living their purpose and their mission in a visible way. And in my work as a psychic, when I see people's energies who have entity attachments, a lot of the times I see it more so connected to their light.
Wow, that's great. That's great. I love it. I love this conversation. That's amazing.
Right.
I try to live in a high vibration, and I try to live, one of my scriptures was, one of my personal scriptures is be the light on the hill. So, now I'm having the fear that, that I'm going to get attacked here.
You're like, oh no, wait, should I be the light on the hill? I mean, Jesus is such a great example of this because Jesus was the light on the hill. And like, how many related leaders were just like, someday I'm going to kill him, or I'm going to challenge him or test him, and then I'm going to crucify him. It's like, he was just shining the light of the word of God.
Yes.
But he was still tempted by the devil, right? He was still tempted by the devil. So that shows that when you're in light, you will still be tempted by evil. He also was able to not
get behind me, Satan.
Exactly, like, get out of here, my guy. Like, I'm serving God, and say it's important that we acknowledge that when you're shining that light, like how many times even Jesus's disciples, sometimes the evil is actually like in your immediate circle and it will try to take and tear you down. Yeah. And so it's just noticing that the dialogue isn't to induce necessarily like fear to the point that you don't shine your light, but fear that you shine your light with deeper wisdom and understanding about some of the threats that do and very realistically happen to a lot of people.
Yeah, yes, I love that. That's great. All right, so your school is called the Sovereign Healer School, and it brings together healers and light workers for transformation. So, based on our conversation that we've had already, explain how you work with this healing energy and, teaching light workers transformation. What do you guys do?
Yes, so it is a 9-month school, and every month we layer on a new piece of technique, very practical techniques that you could learn, someone in corporate could learn, someone who's never awakened before, a child could learn, especially through the first 5 months of the school, because it simply teaches people, can you sit down in meditation in a safe and closed space and learn these very simple tools that will ultimately help you stay in your body, in control of your own energy, from a very mature, centered place. And then when things naturally come to you, you have techniques to challenge the energy. You have techniques to clear the energy. You have techniques to learn to feel the energy. And so the Sovereign Healer School teaches anybody how to sit down in a meditative practice for 9 months and learn how to pray over the truth. So I'm open to receive what is meant for me. I'm open to the truth in the perfect time and space, and then learn, I like to say, like, listen with your skin, meaning learn how to listen with the biggest organ in your body. Just learn how to listen to every little subtle thing, like the breath of air, like the little shiver or tingle, the little flicker in your eye. And over time, the way the school teaches you is like, wait, where did that breath of air come from? I'm open to receive. I'm praying over the truth. Where did that breath of air come from? It was my grandfather. Oh my God, Victoria, my grandfather came through. And so the school is a 9-month psychic development school that teaches you very simple principles to open up your natural gifts in the perfect time and space with techniques that keep you safe and protected and discerning. But ultimately, biggest thing I want to teach people is how to control your channel. Meaning, when I'm in my spiritual work, I'm working with God. I'm working with my spiritual team. That's it. When I leave my office, my enclosed space, I'm a human who's got 2 golden retrievers that's going to get married in a few months and loves to go on hikes. It's like I'm a human who uses their gifts to benefit the world, right? My gifts are for the world. My life is for me. And that balance is needed in the spiritual community because everything becomes connecting all the time, always plugging in, always being open. No, girl, I am not always open. I'm not always open. You know, I'm open when I'm in the work and I'm open for particular times when it's necessary. Otherwise, I'm a human. I'm a human having an amazing experience. And when I'm in the work, I'm in the work. So that control is something I teach people. Go into the work, ground, learn how to cleanse your energy, protect the field, and listen with your skin. And then when you leave, go have an amazing human life.
Nice, nice. Yeah. Turn it on and turn it off. That's amazing. That's great. Right. So, what, how do you, vet people to come in? Do they have to have said that, they feel that they're connected? They must have some prior experience with the spirit world in order to go deeper, or just somebody that you said that's a seeker, maybe that's the word.
Totally. I find that a lot of people who come to my work are quite old souls. And this isn't their first rodeo. And when it's not your first rodeo, you don't want to just fart love and light. You know that we're here in the dirt, in the ground, dealing with some really serious stuff on planet Earth. And you don't want to take it so seriously you don't enjoy life, but you're ready for integrity. You're ready for discernment. You're ready for ethics. You're ready for control. And so I find that my vetting process really is just coming from marketing about things that trigger the wrong people, but make the right people go, thank you for addressing the elephant in the room. I feel safe in your presence. Thank you for talking about something that I've either experienced or that just didn't feel right for me in other conversations. And I really want to learn a way where I'm giving the power back to me. It's one big thing I teach everybody. At the end of your 9 months in the school, I want you to not go, thank you, Victoria, for teaching me all these cool things. I want you to say, I'm so proud of myself. I meditated for 9 months. And here's what I learned about me. Here's what I learned about me. Here's about what I accessed within me. Here are the gifts that I opened in me. And then it's like, Victoria taught me how to ground. It's like, cool. Like, I'm not here for that glorification. I'm here so that you know why you're here and you can hear the word of God within you. You can hear your spirit, right? You can hear your spirit. And I want those testimonials like, you saved me. You brought me back to my power. You brought me back to my sovereignty. And then all this cool, weird stuff started to happen spiritually. And because it came to me, I knew it was right.
Yeah, that's beautiful. That's beautiful. All right. Now, one of the last questions I have here is that your school also teaches, how to avoid the spiritual dangers or awakening. So what happened to you with the demonic entities? Do you teach them how to avoid that, or?
So part of this is about teaching them discernment. And the way I like to explain discernment is actually really helpful for my students. I call it the feeling. It's very subtle, but it's, I don't know why I feel like that's a little bit off. Sometimes you'll listen to someone talk and it's like false light, false prophets give partial truth. So you're kind of like, oh, yeah, that kind of resonates. Yeah, but like also I'm kind of like weirded out and I don't really know why. I'm like, it doesn't feel like yes. It feels like, okay, a little bit yes, but also a little bit So I teach discernment like the feeling. And that feeling is your radar going, I don't think this is all totally truth. I don't think this feels amazing. And so what I teach my students is how to listen so much with their skin that they can feel that feeling. Because in my journey, I believed everything. Because I believe that everything was a part of everything that is. So therefore, nothing is malicious because everything comes from God. So for me, now I teach people that, yeah, of course, there's obviously a purpose for why evil is on this planet. Otherwise, we'd all be, hopefully I'd be invited to the ark while God flooded the earth again. Hopefully I would have an RSVP, but I mean, whatever do you got left? There's no reason why we would not just get on the ark and God would do this whole thing again. So there's a reason why evil is here. However, you cannot serve two masters. So I want to teach someone to serve God. And in doing that, learn to listen with your skin so you can feel those subtleties of shifts in environment. Meaning you go to someone's home for a dinner party and you enter their house and you kind of get the heebie-jeebies. You don't really know why. You just have a few glasses of wine to like knock it down so you don't really notice it. I encourage you to go, that's weird. Let me put up a white shield around my energy. Put myself in a white bubble instead of trying to like suppress it. Now I'm kind of protecting myself from that feeling. So discernment, that feeling of learning to know your body well enough to feel those subtleties of what doesn't totally feel right. Because that's the thing about demonic forces, evil energies, is that there's a reason why it's a heavenly road to hell and a hell road to heaven. Because evil is very tempting. It's very easy to get allured by a shortcut or a quick hit or a dopamine high or instant gratification. Very easy. We live in a world where we have human hearts.
That's what Satan shows to you to get you in, of course.
Big. And that's why it's like, oh, this is the wide road of gambling. It's alluring, but there's also part of you internally that goes, I don't know if this is right.
Yeah, this is too good to be true or something.
100%. This is too good to be true. This is too fun and easy. My path, God, is not fun and easy. It's definitely gratifying though, and it's nourishing, and it's
That's good.
it's full, different feeling. It's not right now. If it doesn't happen right now, then I need to find a way to make it happen now. I trust that this is why it's happening right now. And I surrender to God to show me the truth.
Right. That's good. Discernment, intuition, I think is another word for that.
Exactly. That feeling of like, oh, I don't know. And then adding in, like, learning how to challenge energy, not taking everything at face value. It's like, is that a dead person by my bed? Show me who you truly are. You know? It's like, why are you looking like my grandpa, my guy? That's rude. Show me who you really are. And next thing you know, it like shifts into this like dark being and you're like, I revoke, unavailable. So it's like not taking everything at face value.
Great conversation. Right. Great conversation. Discernment. Right. Yes.
Love it. Glad.
Right. I love it. All right. So tell our listeners how they can get in touch with you and information on your school.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much for asking. Instagram is definitely where the party is at. So you can find me at Victoria Pippo, Pippo. And then on my website, which is Victoria Pippo Inc., INC, like incorporated.com, you can find everything about the Sovereign Healer School. Depending on when your listeners are watching this, every cohort we reopen every 12 months. And so right now, doors are open for you to be able to join the school. We begin in June of 2025, but when you join now, you get little bonuses if it suits you and your timeline of life. We have the school, which is a digital passive course, or you can join the mastermind. And the mastermind is where you get to be with 16 other healers and my mentorship, so I can actually help you learn in real time, moment to moment, how your gifts are growing. So if you're already in the work and you want to refine it, or you want to know what your unique reason is for being here, but you want to do it safely and under guidance that takes the time to say, it's not a one size fits all. Let me tune in and see what your size is that fits your natural path, then the mastermind is going to be best for you. And then finally, I've got a new vision that I've been building, and it's called the Sovereign Healer University. The university is in person. Consider it to be like a modern day Hogwarts. And so I have been able to serve six teachers, excuse me, that are going to be coming with me that learn the sovereign healer way, that are healers in their own birthright, that are using their gifts in extraordinary ways. And they're going to be with me in person with healers who want to come to take platform 9 3/4 to Hogwarts and experience the sovereign healer school in person. So just different palettes based on what someone wants at this time of their growth. If they want in-person work, that's the place to be. If they love passive learning, take it in your own speed. The school's where to be. And if you're at that advanced level where you want that one-on-one support, the mastermind is the place to be.
Nice. Wow. That's amazing. You do good work. I already follow you on Instagram. So,
She's already at the party, you guys. Take notes.
yes, I'm already at the party. So that's amazing. All right. Well, listen, I will have a summary of my conversation with Victoria on the show page, which is myhelps.us. I will link out to her website, which is victoriapippoinc.com. I will link out to that. I'll link out to her Instagram page. And so that, if you miss something on this conversation, you could just go to the website and click on it. But yes, like she says, this is for anybody that feel the inclination, I love your term, old soul, that there's more here and maybe you've been here before. And what you recognize that. Yeah, that's right. You recognize that and that you want to go into your purpose and to see why you're here. So, yes, that's amazing. So, and yes, help other people become a healer, understand energy, understand what you're here for, your spiritual awakening. That's where we should all be trying to get to understand why we're here, why God brought you in this particular body at this particular time and doing your work. So, man, yes, so Victoria is here to facilitate that. So that was great. That's a great conversation. I love our conversation today, Victoria. All right, guys. So listen, head over to show page, head over to Victoria on Instagram, and it's on her name, Victoria Pippo, Pippo, and start following her and get that information. And yeah, you've got a mastermind, you've got a school, you've got a university. So that's a period. You got everything, right? For every different level.
Yeah.
Right. So amazing. All right. So as we wrap up, Victoria, any last words?
I thought that was a great, enriching conversation. I pray that your listeners found value in it. And I think the biggest thing I want to say is that the truth sets you free. And if you feel a little bit of fear and insecurity about it at this time, that's totally okay. Let that channel into something that makes you better, more grounded, more intentional about the way you're showing up in the work. And so I hope that you can feel my heart in today's call and know that I'm not here to spread fear, but to really spread truth and information so that we can live in a more discerning world, a safe, awakening world. And I really appreciate you for taking the time today to receive.
That's beautiful. Yes. And I love speaking to passionate souls. I mean, Victoria is on fire. Yeah, she's practicing what she preaches. Her energy level is here.
Up here, you.
She's up here. I love it. And that's how you know that somebody is well suited for their work because they bring the passion, they bring the energy to it. So that's amazing.
Oh, thanks.
So I thank you so much for being on the show. Thank you so much for sharing your knowledge. Thank you so much for opening us up to understanding spiritual awakening and healing on a multidimensional level. And understanding that even though it might be something that we can fear, with someone like you and your school, you're there to point them in the right direction and kind of be a guide so that they can grow into their spiritual power. So that's amazing. All right. So that was a good summary, good wrap up for me. So awesome. All right, guys. So we're fresh out of time. Thank you, Victoria. Thank you guys for tuning in to this week's episode of Transform Your Mind so that you can transform your life. Until next time, namaste.